Welcome to this edition of Focal Point. My name is Chad Ramsarup, and on today's program, I have with me Dr. Peter Ramsarup, a renowned economist. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's talk a bit about the current state of our economy.
Well, as we're in a transition mode, we all know prior to May 11th, the economy was a very stable economy. Growth rate over the past 4 or 5 years at 4.5% annual growth. Good reports from the World Bank, good reports from Bank of Guyana show what our national debt ratio was, what our programs, what the projected plans were for 2015 and beyond. So a very sound economy. In the transition period, I know the media has been listening to one analysis of where the economy is today, and I considered it the oh my God approach, because if you look at some of the media reports currently, one has to wonder, how did Guyana survive 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, even last year, even to this year? So I believe our economy is sound. It needs to move forward and continue the development, and that needs to have a strong economic plan going forward. So the de facto government in place got to stop the oh my God approach and realize every month that they do not continue some of the critical programs to improve our economy, we would be further behind a year from now.
All right. The PPP government, when they were in office, they had championed a number of projects: the Isle of Fall hydropower project, the specialty hospital, the Chamijaga expansion project, airport expansion project, just to name a few. The government, the now government, the Granger-led administration, they're not likely to go forward with some of those projects. What impact could this have on our economy?
Well, I believe they have to go forward with the projects. These are structural changes that are necessary to improve Guyana. And I've already see signs where they have accepted the Chamijaga International Airport needs to be modified. That's a critical program that is what I call hardware structural necessity for Guyana to, not just for tourism, but for trade, for many other aspects. You need a viable airport that has the capacity for improvement. They have made statements that they will continue that. So it validates one aspect that the PPP version 2.0 was definitely the way to go. Secondly, they have talked about the hydro. They're out right now is to say, well, let's wait for the IDB study. Most likely the IDB study will come back that it's a viable project. Guyana needs alternative energy. Now, I don't disagree that there are many different forms of alternative energy available, but a longer capital plan like Amalia needs to happen. The specialty hospital, that's a personal thing for me too. I believe that Guyana needs a specialty hospital. All of us are getting older. Our families, our parents are getting older, and we need to ensure that they have the care necessary. So the government is saying that we can put more emphasis on primary care. Nothing wrong with that. Primary care is something you have to do regardless, and the PPP had improved many of the healthcare institutions around the country. But a specialty requirement is absolutely needed. We need to be able to have heart surgeries, kidney transplants. Those things need to be available to the average and ordinary citizen.
All right. The picture that's currently being painted is that the majority of these projects, there were corrupt practices embedded in them. Is that really the case?
Well, again, any new de facto government, as we call the administration, it's politics. It's easier for the finance minister currently to say we have 1.8 million in external debt, when the Bank of Guyana says we only have 1.2. So for a finance person not using the data that is validated from the major banking institution in Guyana shows we're playing politics. And I believe he's saying 1.8 billion and making the number higher, so when they overspend the money this year, they can go back and say they inherited 1.8 billion, which we all know that is not true. They're inheriting a sound economy, the financial data is there. Now projects, in estimation, if you say you're going to build a road for $50 million, and really some engineers may say you build it for 40, some may say 30, but is that corruption? it could be, I think we've got to distinguish rational comments versus political comments versus emotional comments. And right now what we're getting is the oh my God approach from every current de facto minister in the current government that's saying, oh my God, I found money. The finance minister said he found $8 billion in excess in the Bank of Guyana. Then the next day he said he's in $60 billion deficit. But if he did find $8 billion, then maybe they'll be able to keep the promises of reducing VAT in the Berbice Bridge. So, Mr. Finance Minister, you got $8 billion to go spend, go use it now.
All right, I'm glad you mentioned the Berbice River Bridge. On the campaign trail, the APNU, they had campaigned extensively that they will be reducing the toll on the Berbice River Bridge. Is that feasible at this time?
It's absolutely, because it's a private-public sector partnership, there's investments that went into the Berbice Bridge. Any investor that invests money in a project wants their return on investment over a period of time, which is already locked in, agreed to by everyone that built that Berbice Bridge. For the APNU folks to come in and says, now we'll cut that tells me as a private investor and a foreign investor, I'm not coming into Guyana, because if that's what they're going to do to my project 3 years from now, and I spend millions of dollars investing in the Berbice Bridge or any other bridge, and somebody can say you're not getting your money back, absolutely wrong. But the fact that John Granger said he will cut the Berbice Bridge, he better do it. The fact is, we expect to see within the 100 days. So what is going to have to happen? He's going to have to take money from the Treasury to subsidize what they have to pay back to the investors and whatever other components. So basically, he's going to take taxpayers' money, put it right back into the Berbice Bridge, and reduce it. So you're really not getting a reduction. That tax money, you're going to have to pay it back somehow, but instead of decrease in VAT, we may see increases in other taxes. So they may decrease VAT, but then suddenly so your property taxes went sky high, or other components of the tax system. Businesses may end up paying higher taxes. So what it is a lack of integrated plan. It's emotional and political statements being described in the last 30 to 40 days.
All right, from your point of view, what do you think the current government needs to do to ensure that economic growth is sustained?
I believe, one, they have to look at our version 2.0 plan. It is not a plan that came about because it's a manifesto. It's a plan that has been built over the last 5 years. So version 1.0 of the PPP plan build the foundation. In order to get to the Deepwater Harbor, you would have had to have the accessibility to that area. So structurally, you've got CGX out there drilling for oil. You've got them saying now they will help contribute to the development of Deepwater Harbor. But that tied to the road to Brazil, which was in version 2.0, you've got to pave that road now. So the transportation economics of the connection between the transshipment point between Brazil and Guyana exists. You couldn't do the Deepwater Harbor 5 years ago because the Lethem Road had to be built up. Now the Lethem Road is really ready to be paved. You still have to work on the bridges across some of the rivers that we have to go across. So version 2.0 outlines specifically what needs to be done. So for Guyana to continue its economic growth, for us to see 4.5 annual growth this year, John Granger has to approve and implement version 2.0 of the PPP plan. They disapproved every one of those items in the 10th Parliament. But now suddenly the same people that says the airport was bad, suddenly saying the airport is great. But it's a validation to the PPP that we did have the right programs in place, and the fact that those programs must continue. And if you listen to the last 40 days of this de facto government in office, you have not heard, and I have not heard, a single new initiative that will a transformation project that will be introduced to change Guyana. I have not heard of a single one. So, which is a good thing in my mind, because they have to use version 2.0 of the PPP plan now to ensure that they are somewhat successful. That's if they're smart enough to implement it.
We have been hearing a lot about version 2.0. In a nutshell, tell me what it is, what it entails, and some of the highlights.
Well, the version 2.0 of the PPP plan is a transformation plan that says Guyana economy is at version 1.0. We've got a stable economy. We have structurally systems in place, the rice industry, the sugar industry, all of that needs to be enhanced. So instead of, we all know sugar is bad, for example, and we knew the prices of sugar was going down. Now you have to look at the value-added products for sugar. So when the sugar price is low, you move into the development of more complex sugar products. White sugar, for example, is a higher price than the brown sugar. You look at moving the excess sugar cane into production of ethanol, which then has a higher value during market times. You look at using energy, creating energy through the sugar industry. So version 2.0 takes this sugar industry that we hear so much about and says, okay, we understand that it needs to be improved. Investment of $20 billion will get us to this level where we sustain the basic sugar, but move it to the next level. Rice, for example, we understand that rice, again, we're growing and producing significant more rice than we've ever produced in Guyana's history. But the rice price cannot sustain. So we've got to move to value-added products. The former president, the President Ramtar, commissioned the starting of the cereal factory in Essequibo. Cereal, for example, is an off-product of rice. That has more value than the basic rice. So version 2.0 moves that. The other plans, including the road to Brazil, the Deepwater Harbor, other infrastructural improvement, the Demerara Bridge, the bridge to Suriname, those are all key hardware components that Guyana has to do in order to get to the next level. For us to have more jobs, more value-added jobs, higher paying jobs. You cannot get higher paying jobs by spending more money. If you don't build that new industry, for you to be an engineer now, to work at the sugar plant to create ethanol, a chemist, for example, that's higher paying jobs than just cutting the cane. So version 2.0 says we're here and we're moving to the next level. And if you implement those things, I want them implemented. I believe the PP would have done a very good job in implementing them. But we have a de facto government. I hope they take version 2.0, and you're hearing that. I'm glad that you're hearing Patterson and others saying we've got to build the airport. CGX came out the other day and says they're ready to help build the Deepwater Harbor, which was already in the works. These are not new initiatives. And Brazil is saying we're ready to help pave the road to Brazil through LFM. Those are all already in the works. These are not new. Wow, the new de facto government is saying I met with Brazil and they're going to help us pave the road. These discussions have been going on for years. It's now the level where version 2.0 can be